Commander Vec stood in the observation chamber, all four of his eyes fixed on the monitor displaying the human strapped to the interrogation chair. This was supposed to be simple, routine even. Capture the human scout, extract information about Earth's defensive positions, dispose of evidence, move on to the next target. Clean, efficient, the way the Krellian Empire had operated for 3,000 years, except nothing about this human was routine. "Sir, the subject is secured," reported Lieutenant Thrax, his antenna twitching nervously. "Restraints are, well, they are holding." "Barely." Vec clicked his mandibles in annoyance. "Barely. He is one human. One. We have restraints designed to hold a Gorvean battle beast. How is this possible? He keeps, flexing. The metal groans every time he does it. Perfect? Just perfect. 3 cycles of planning, 2 full squads to capture this one specimen, and now the human was apparently auditioning for a strongman competition. Vec had read the intelligence reports about human physiology, of course. Everyone had. After the disaster at Proxima Station, where a single human maintenance worker had accidentally, mind you, ripped a security door off its hinges while trying to open it during an emergency. High Command had issued warnings, but warnings were one thing. Seeing it in person was entirely different. "Begin the interrogation," Vec ordered, settling into his observation seat. "Standard protocol. Start with the neural disruptor, level 3. Thrax hesitated. "Sir, are you certain? Level 3 is quite intense. Most species lose consciousness at level 2. "I am aware, Lieutenant." "Proceed." Through the monitor, Vec watched as interrogator Zeal entered the chamber. Zeal was the best they had. Calm, methodical, utterly without mercy. He had broken warlords, crime lords, and rebel leaders. One human should be what was the Earth expression. Tss. Yes. Child's play. The human, who had identified himself only as Marcus Vale, Scout Division, serial number fuck off, looked up as Zeal approached. Despite being held in restraints that could crush bone, despite facing interrogation by an 8-foot-tall Krellian with more sharp edges than a cutlery factory, the human was smiling. Actually smiling. "Oh good," Marcus said cheerfully. "I was getting bored. You guys have terrible entertainment options. No holovids, no music, not even a magazine. What kind of evil alien empire doesn't provide reading material?" Zeal did not respond. He never did during initial contact. Instead, he simply activated the neural disruptor, pointing the device at the human's head. Vec leaned forward. This was it. The moment of truth. The neural disruptor sent targeted pulses into the pain centers of the brain, creating sensations of excruciating agony without causing actual physical damage. It was elegant, efficient, and above all, it worked. The device hummed to life. Marcus's smile faltered. His jaw clenched. Sweat broke out on his forehead. "There," Vec muttered with satisfaction. "Now we will get somewhere." Then Marcus laughed. It started as a chuckle, really. A small, almost confused sound. Then it grew. Within seconds, the human was laughing so hard his restraints rattled. Oh wow," Marcus gasped between laughs. That is something. What is that? Some kind of tingly, zappy thing. It is like when your foot falls asleep, but everywhere at once." Zeal's crest flattened in confusion. He checked the device settings. Level 3. Functioning properly. He increased it to level 4. Marcus's laughter intensified. Okay, the human wheezed. "Now it feels like someone is tap dancing on my nerve endings. This is wild. Do you guys sell these? Because my buddy Kyle would love this. He is into all that weird sensory stuff." In the observation chamber, Vec felt a cold sensation spreading through his torso. "This is not possible." "Maybe the device is malfunctioning," suggested Thrax. "Test it on yourself." "Sir?" "You heard me, test it." Thrax reluctantly took the spare neural disruptor, set it to level 1, and pointed it at his own head. He activated it for precisely half a second before dropping the device with a shriek. "Functioning. Functioning perfectly, sir. No malfunction detected." They both stared at the monitor. Zille had increased the setting to level 6, maximum. The level that could literally cause some species to die from neural shock. The human was still laughing, though now he also seemed to be crying a little. "This is amazing. Marcus managed to say. Seriously, is this what you guys do for fun? Because if so, I totally get why you are always invading people. You must be bored out of your minds with normal entertainment. Zill turned off the device. He stood there for a long moment, his crest flattening and raising repeatedly in what Vec recognized as profound confusion. Then, with careful deliberation, Zill tried the next technique, the temperature chamber. The walls began to glow as Zill activated the thermal torture protocols. First, heat. Extreme heat. The kind that could cook flesh, boil fluids, cause organs to shut down from thermal stress. The temperature readout climbed. 40 degrees, 50, 60, 70. Oh, Marcus said, his smile returning. Oh, this is nice, this is actually really nice, you guys have saunas. I love saunas. 80 degrees. 90. Little warm, the human admitted. But honestly, I once had a fever of 40.5 Celsius, which I think is like 105 in the old system, and I still went to work. My boss thought I was dedicated. I was actually just too delirious to remember how to call in sick. 100 degrees. Marcus was sweating profusely now, his skin flushed red, but he seemed more uncomfortable than agonized. Okay, yeah, this is getting up there. You might want to dial it back before I get dehydrated. Do you guys have water? Gatorade. Actually, I could really go for a Gatorade right about now. Zill switched to cold, rapidly. The temperature plummeted. 0 degrees. -10, -20. Oh, come on, Marcus shouted, but he was laughing again. Pick a temperature and commit. This is like my ex-girlfriend and the thermostat all over again. -30. -40. Frost began forming on the restraints. You know, Marcus said through chattering teeth, I grew up in Minnesota. We call this October. Vic slammed one of his claws on the console. This is impossible. He should be unconscious. He should be begging for mercy. He should be dead. Perhaps, Thrax said carefully, perhaps we should try a different approach. What other approach? We have used our two most reliable methods. There is always the acid immersion. Vac considered this. The acid immersion was typically reserved for the most stubborn subjects. It involved lowering the captive slowly into a vat of corrosive chemicals, starting with the extremities and working upward. It was horrific, barbaric, and most importantly, it worked. Prepare the acid chamber. 10 minutes later, Marcus hung suspended over a vat of bubbling green liquid that could dissolve metal. The restraints held his arms and legs spread wide as the platform slowly began to descend. Guys, Marcus called out, I feel like we should talk about this. This seems excessive. I mean, I appreciate the whole supervillain aesthetic you have got going on. Very retro. Very Austin Powers. But maybe we could just, I don't know, have a conversation. Zill lowered him another meter. Okay, no conversation. That is fine, that is totally fine. I respect your commitment to the bit. The human's feet touched the acid. There was a hissing sound. Smoke rose. Vec leaned forward, waiting for the screaming to begin. Marcus looked down at his feet. Tingly. Anybody got any lotion? This is murder on the skin. What? Vec roared. The human was now ankle-deep in military-grade corrosive acid, the kind that could eat through spaceship hulls, and he was complaining about dry skin. No, seriously, Marcus continued as Zill's eyes lowered him further. I have got this thing, eczema or something, and chemicals really make it flare up. My dermatologist would be so mad right now. She spent months getting me on the right cream, knee-deep now. The acid bubbled around him. His uniform was disintegrating, but his skin, while red and irritated, remained intact. You know what this smells like? Marcus asked conversationally. Chlorine. Like a really aggressive pool. You guys have pools? You should have pools. Pools are great. I used to be a lifeguard. Vex turned to Thrax. Get medical down here. Now, sir, I need to know what we are dealing with. Either this human is some kind of augmented super soldier, or our torture equipment has simultaneously malfunctioned in 6 different ways. Right away, sir. As Thrax scrambled to contact medical, Vec watched Zill pull the human back up from the acid. Marcus emerged dripping, his uniform in tatters, his skin bright red but unbroken. He was still smiling. That was different, Marcus said. Not great, not terrible. I would give it a solid 5 out of 10. The neural zapper thing was better. Can we do that again? Zilla's crest was completely flat now, pressed against his skull in a way that indicated total defeat. He turned to the observation window and spread his claws in a gesture of helplessness. Vec activated the intercom. Try the sonic disruptor. The sonic disruptor was designed to create sound waves at frequencies that could shatter organs, cause hemorrhaging, and induce immediate unconsciousness through sheer physical trauma. It was illegal in 67 star systems. The Krellian Empire used it anyway. Zilal activated the device. The sound was inaudible to most species, operating below the normal range of hearing, but its effects were immediately visible. The restraints vibrated. The walls shook. Small cracks appeared in the observation glass. Marcus's eyes widened. Oh! Oh no! No, no! Finally, Vec thought. Finally a response. This is bad, Marcus said. This is really bad. Yes, Vec whispered. Yes, that is the point. I think I am going to break, big, confess, fart. Yeah, definitely going to fart. Fair warning. The sonic disruptor continued. 30 seconds. A minute. 2 minutes. At some point Marcus did indeed fart, and seemed quite embarrassed about it, but he did not lose consciousness, did not hemorrhage, did not show any signs of organ damage whatsoever. He just sat there looking mildly uncomfortable and apologizing for his flatulence. Dr. Krennic arrived in the observation chamber carrying a datapad and looking irritated at having been summoned. He was the Empire's leading xenobiologist and had a personality to match his impressive credentials, which is to say he was insufferable. This had better be important, Commander. I was in the middle of a dissection. Look at the monitor and tell me what you see. Krennic glanced at the screen, then at the readouts, then at the screen again. His pupils dilated. Is that a human? Yes. And you have been subjecting him to... Krennic scrolled through the torture log on his datapad. His crest rose higher with each line. Neural disruption at maximum. Temperature extremes. Acid immersion. Sonic disruption. Are you trying to kill him? I am trying to interrogate him. Well, you are doing a terrible job of it. Look at him. He is fine. I know he is fine. That is the problem. Krennic studied the human with clinical interest. Marcus was now chatting with Zil, trying to engage the interrogator in a conversation about sports. Zil was ignoring him with increasing difficulty. Fascinating, Krennic murmured. The reports were accurate then. What reports? The xenobiology reports on human durability. I thought they were exaggerated. Apparently not. Krennic pulled up a file on his datapad. Humans evolved on a death world, Commander. An actual, literal death world. Class 10. That is impossible. Nothing intelligent evolves on a Class 10. And yet. Krennic gestured at Marcus, who was now trying to sing something he called a sea shanty. Their planet has weather patterns that can level cities, tectonic activity that regularly reshapes continents, a magnetosphere so strong it causes compasses to point north like some kind of planet-wide supernatural force. They have bacteria on their world that can eat flesh in hours, plants that can kill with a touch, animals that see them as food, and that is just on land. Their oceans are somehow worse. Vec felt his legs weakening. You are saying... I am saying that their entire evolutionary history has been an arms race against everything trying to kill them. Pain? They evolved to ignore it because stopping to acknowledge every injury meant death. Temperature extremes? They just adapted. Chemical irritants. Built up immunity. Sonic trauma. Their ears already get damaged by their own music concerts, and they consider it normal. Then how do we interrogate him? Krennic considered this. Well, according to the behavioral studies, humans are intensely social creatures. Isolation might work, prolonged solitary confinement, sensory deprivation, that sort of thing. How long? Oh, a few weeks should do it, maybe months. They are quite stubborn. Vec wanted to scream, I need information now. The human fleet is mobilizing. We have days at most. Then I suggest you try asking nicely. Asking nicely? Yes. Revolutionary concept, I know. But humans do respond well to polite conversation, proper treatment, and basic respect for their dignity. Of course, that would mean admitting we cannot break them, which might be awkward. Through the monitor, Marcus had started doing some kind of exercise routine despite being restrained. Zeal watched him with what could only be described as existential dread. "How?" Zilla's voice came through the intercom. "How are you doing push-ups? You are literally chained to a wall." "Upper body workout, baby," Marcus grunted. "Can't skip upper body day. That is how you get imbalanced. You guys work out. You should work out. Exercise is great for mental health." Vec turned to Krennic. "What if we just do not feed him? Humans require regular sustenance, correct?" "Oh, they do. Every few hours, in fact. Their metabolisms are absurdly fast. But," Krennic checked his datapad, "they can survive weeks without food. It will be extremely unpleasant for them but survivable. And when they get hungry enough they become irrational and violent. You think he is difficult now? Wait until he enters what they call hangry mode." "Hangry?" "Hungry and angry. Combined. It is apparently quite dangerous." "Perfect. Just perfect." Vec had captured what was supposed to be a simple reconnaissance scout, and instead he had some kind of unkillable, cheerful, exercise-obsessed nightmare who quoted Earth sports statistics while being subjected to war crimes. "Sir," Thrax interrupted, "the High Command is requesting an update on the interrogation. They want to know if we have extracted the defensive coordinates yet." "Tell them," Vec said slowly. "Tell them we are making progress." "Are we?" No, we are not. We are failing spectacularly, but I would prefer not to admit that in an official report just yet." On the monitor, Marcus had somehow convinced Zeal to try a push-up. The interrogator, more out of exhaustion than anything else, attempted one. His form was terrible. No, Marcus coached. "Back straight. Core engaged. Feel the burn." Zilla managed 3 push-ups before collapsing. "Not bad for a first try," Marcus encouraged. "We will get you to 20 in no time." Vic stared at the scene. "I need a drink." "Permission to join you, sir?" asked Thrax. "Granted. Doctor, you are coming too." "I do not drink." "You do now." As they left the observation chamber, Vic glanced back one last time. Marcus was teaching Zilla breathing exercises. The interrogator was following along, his crest raised in what might have been fascination or possibly a nervous breakdown. 3,000 years of military dominance, Vec thought. 3,000 years of terror and conquest, and it only took one human to make them look like fools. This was going to be a very long war. The recreational lounge of the Krullian warship was not designed for existential crises, but Commander Vec was having one anyway. He stared into his drink, a potent mixture of fermented algae that normally helped him unwind after a long shift. Today it just tasted like failure. "We could space him," suggested Thrax, onto his third drink and clearly feeling bold. "And explain to High Command that we captured a human scout, failed to extract any useful information, and then murdered our only source of intelligence about Earth's defenses." "Brilliant plan, Lieutenant." Truly inspired. Dr. Krennic swirled his own beverage, which he had claimed he did not drink but was now consuming with remarkable enthusiasm. "You know what the worst part is? He is probably not even special. Just an average human." "Average?" Vec's crest rose in disbelief. "That thing down there is average?" "According to the biological surveys, yes. Baseline human. Standard model. The military ones are apparently worse. They do something called boot camp where they voluntarily subject themselves to sleep deprivation, physical exhaustion, and psychological stress. For fun, as training." Thrax made a choking sound. "Voluntarily. Oh, it gets better. They have an entire subculture dedicated to making themselves more durable. They lift heavy objects repeatedly until their muscle fibers tear, then let them heal stronger. They run until their lungs burn. They put themselves in ice baths and superheated rooms. They call it fitness. That is insane. That is humanity." Vec drained his glass and immediately regretted it. The room spun slightly. "So, what you are telling me is that we are fighting a species that tortures itself for entertainment and considers our military-grade interrogation techniques to be a mediocre workout." "Essentially, yes." "Fantastic. Just fantastic. How did they even develop space travel? They should have killed themselves off millennia ago." Krennic pulled up another file. "Actually, that is the interesting part. They almost did, multiple times. They have survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, several self-inflicted near-extinction events involving nuclear weapons. At least 6 different plagues, and something called the Bronze Age collapse. They just keep coming back. It is like trying to kill a hydro plant, cut off one head and 3 more appear. The door to the lounge slid open and Zil entered, looking like he had aged 30 cycles in the past 2 hours. His crest was completely flat, his eyes unfocused, and he walked with the gait of someone who had seen things they could not unsee. Interrogator, Vec acknowledged. Report? Zil sat down heavily and grabbed Thrax's drink without asking, downing it in one gulp. He asked me about my family. Silence. What? Vec finally asked. The human, Marcus. He asked me about my family, whether I had hatchlings, what they were studying, if I got to see them often. Zilla's voice was hollow. When I told him I have 3 offspring in the military academy, he congratulated me, said they must make me proud, asked what their specialties were. That is, nice. Then he told me about his daughter, showed me a picture he keeps in his boot. Her name is Emma. She is 7. She drew him a picture of a spaceship before he left for this mission, and he laminated it. Zilla looked up at them, his eyes haunted. He carries a drawing from his hatchling into combat. A drawing. Krennic leaned forward with interest. Did he cry when talking about her? No. He smiled. This huge, genuine smile said she is the smartest kid in her class and wants to be a xenobiologist when she grows up. Thinks aliens are cool. Zilla laughed. A brittle sound. She thinks we are cool. After everything we have done, after we captured her father and tried to torture him to death, he sits there in restraints and tells me his hatchling thinks aliens are fascinating. Vecca felt something uncomfortable twisting in his chest. Guilt, maybe, or indigestion. Probably indigestion. He told me stories, Zell continued, staring at nothing. While I was supposed to be interrogating him, he told me about teaching Emma to ride something called a bicycle, about camping trips and bedtime stories and parent-teacher conferences. He talked for an hour about a school play where she was a tree. A tree, Commander. She stood on stage, dressed as vegetation, and he was the proudest parent in the audience. This is psychological warfare. Buck decided. He is trying to manipulate you. Is it working? Yes. Obviously it is working. You look like you want to adopt him. Zill slumped further. I might. He gives excellent parenting advice. Did you know human hatchlings require constant verbal affirmation? They need to be told they are valued multiple times per day or they develop psychological issues. Our hatchlings are dumped in communal pools and expected to figure things out themselves, Thrax pointed out. Yes, and look how well that turned out for us. We are a species of emotionally stunted conquerors who solve problems by hitting them. That has worked fine for 3,000 years. Has it though? Has it really? Vic slammed his claw on the table. Focus. We have a mission. We need information. Earth's defensive positions, fleet movements, weapons capabilities. Something, anything we can use. I asked him. Zeal said quietly. After the stories, I just asked him directly. Everyone leaned in. And? He said no. That is it? Just no? He said, and I quote, I appreciate the conversation. So, you seem like a good person stuck in a bad situation, but I took an oath to protect Earth and her interests, and that means I cannot help you hurt my people. No hard feelings, though. Want to hear about the time Emma tried to give the cat a bath? Vex stared at the interrogator. And what did you say?
I said yes.
Obviously. The story was hilarious. Apparently Earth cats are waterproof, but highly opposed to the concept of bathing. Interrogator Zill. Sir? You are supposed to be breaking him, not becoming his friend. I know that, sir. But he is very friendly. It is difficult not to reciprocate. Dr. Krennic made a note on his datapad. Humans are intensely social creatures, as I mentioned. They form emotional bonds rapidly and maintain them through shared experiences and conversation. It is a survival mechanism. In their evolutionary history, being part of a group meant survival, being isolated meant death. So they developed an almost pathological need to connect with others. So he is bonding with his torturer. Essentially. And it is working. Look at Zeal. They all looked at Settle, who was now showing them pictures on his communicator of his offspring's graduation ceremony. Marcus had apparently convinced him to share family photos. Duck felt a headache forming behind all 4 of his eyes. We need a new approach. We could try the fear toxin, Thrax suggested. The one that causes vivid hallucinations of the subject's worst nightmares. After the acid bath failed to melt him, you think scary dreams will work? It might. Vic considered this. The fear toxin was a neurological agent that triggered the most primal terror centers of the brain, causing victims to experience their deepest fears in vivid, overwhelming detail. It had a 98% success rate across known species. Of course, their torture equipment also had a 98% success rate, and that had gone nowhere. Fine. Prepare the fear toxin, but I want full medical monitoring. If his brain does something unexpected, I want to know immediately. 20 minutes later, they were back in the observation chamber. Marcus had been moved to a different cell, this one equipped with atmospheric controls. Zilly administered the fear toxin through the air vents, while Krennic monitored the human's neural activity. The toxin took effect within seconds. Marcus's eyes widened, his breathing quickened, sweat broke out across his forehead. His hands clenched into fists. Elevated heart rate, Krennic reported. Adrenaline spike. Cortisol levels increasing. Amygdala showing maximum activity. The toxin is working. Finally, Vec thought. Finally, we are getting somewhere. Marcus began to speak, his voice shaking. No, 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 not this. Anything but this. What is he seeing? Thrax asked. His worst fear, whatever that may be. Vec leaned forward. This is it. This is when they break. Please, Marcus whispered. Please. I cannot do it. Yes, Vec hissed. Yes, break. Give us what we need. I cannot, Marcus said louder now, his voice cracking with genuine terror. I cannot go to another extended family Thanksgiving dinner. I cannot listen to Uncle Jerry explain his political theories for 6 hours. I cannot eat green bean casserole with fried onions on top. The turkey is always dry, always, and Aunt Linda will ask when I am getting married again, and she will not accept any answer I give her, and everyone will argue about football. It is too much. Too much. In the observation chamber, nobody moved. Did he just say, Thrax began slowly, that his worst fear is a family meal? Krennic was frantically checking his readings. The fear response is genuine. His terror is real, but the subject of that terror is... He trailed off, looking confused. It is a social gathering with relatives where they consume food and discuss sports. That cannot be his worst fear, Vic stated. What about death? Torture? The destruction of his home world? The loss of his offspring? Apparently those come second to uncomfortable holiday dinners. Marcus was now describing in vivid detail the horror of making small talk with distant cousins he barely remembered, the agony of being asked about his career prospects, and the psychological warfare of passive-aggressive comments about his life choices. He seemed genuinely more distressed than he had been during the acid bath. This is useless, Vec growled. Turn it off. The fear toxin was neutralized. Marcus blinked a few times, then laughed shakily. Wow, that was intense. You guys really know how to dig up trauma. I need to call my therapist after this. Your worst fear is a family gathering. Zill asked through the intercom, his crest raised in confusion. Listen, you have not met Uncle Jerry. The man has opinions about everything and facts about nothing. Last year he spent 45 minutes explaining why the moon landing was faked using evidence he found on a conspiracy website. It was exhausting. But surely death is more frightening. Death is inevitable. Quick, over, Uncle Jerry is eternal, recurring every November, and there is no escape. You understand the difference? Not really, no. Then you have never experienced the true horror of mandatory fun with people you are related to but do not actually know. Vector turned away from the monitor. This was hopeless. Utterly hopeless. They had tried pain, temperature, chemicals, sound, fear, and everything in between. The human remained unbroken, mostly unbothered, and somehow had managed to make friends with his interrogator. Sir, Thrax said carefully, perhaps we should consider Dr. Krennic's earlier suggestion. What? Asking nicely? Absolutely not. But sir, we are running out of options. High Command expects results. The human fleet will arrive in this sector within 48 hours. If we do not have intelligence by then... I know, Vex snapped. I know what will happen. Court-martial. Disgrace. possibly execution for incompetence. But I will not simply ask the enemy for information like we are having tea. Actually, Marcus's voice came through the intercom. He had apparently figured out how to activate the two-way communication. Tea sounds great. You guys have tea? Coffee? Energy drinks? I could really use some caffeine. Oh, and food. Not to be demanding, but it has been like 8 hours and I am starting to feel it. You got any protein bars? Pizza? I would commit minor crimes for pizza right now. How did he activate the intercom? Beck demanded. I have no idea, sir. It requires a 6-digit code. I guessed, Marcus said helpfully. Your security is not great. The code was 123456. Come on, guys. That is like the password equivalent of leaving your door unlocked. Very disappointing. Vex stared at the ceiling and wondered what he had done to anger the cosmic forces so thoroughly. Tell you what, Marcus continued. I am going to make you an offer. A genuine good faith offer. You bring me some food, actual food. Not nutrient paste or whatever you guys eat. And I will answer 3 questions. Any 3 questions you want, as long as they are not specifically about military positions or classified technology. Why would you do that? Vivek asked suspiciously. Because I am hungry and you guys seem stressed. Also, Zilla told me about his kids, and they sound awesome. I figure anyone raising 3 kids while working a high-pressure job deserves at least a civil conversation. Plus, this whole torture thing is not working and we both know it. You are wasting resources and I am wasting time I could spend being rescued. You think your people will rescue you? Oh, 100%. Earth does not leave its people behind. It is kind of our thing. We are aggressively loyal like that. Sometimes stupidly so. There is probably a strike team forming right now, and they are probably way too enthusiastic about it. Marines love a good rescue mission. Krennic pulled up tactical data. Sir, he might be right. We have detected unusual energy signatures 3 sectors away. Could be human ships entering the region. Vec felt the situation slipping away from him. You are saying we should negotiate with the prisoner. I am saying we should accept reality. The torture failed. Spectacularly. We have approximately 40 hours before what I assume will be a very angry human military force arrives. At that point, our options become significantly more limited. Bring him to the command briefing room, Vic decided, and get him food. Real food. I want him cooperative. Sir? You heard me. We are trying something new. We are trying not being terrible. 30 minutes later, Marcus sat at a conference table in the command briefing room, no longer restrained, eating what the ship's database claimed was similar to Earth food. It was some kind of protein with grain and vegetables. Marcus had declared it not pizza, but acceptable. Vax sat across from him, Thrax to his right, Krennic to his left. Zil stood by the door, looking conflicted about the whole situation. So, Marcus said between bites, this is nice. Much better than the murder chamber. You guys should lead with this next time. Catch more flies with honey, you know. 3 questions, Vax stated. You promised 3 answers. Non-classified answers, Marcus corrected. But yeah, 3 questions. Ask away. Vika had thought about this carefully. What is Earth's primary defensive strategy against the Krellian Empire? Marcus smiled. Not telling you specific fleet positions or weapons, but I can give you the general approach. Earth's strategy is simple. Wait. Yep, just wait. See, you guys have been fighting wars the same way for 3,000 years. You are predictable. You follow patterns, you have protocols and procedures and chains of command. Earth has been watching you for decades. We know how you operate. So our strategy is to let you do your thing, then respond in ways you do not expect. That is not much of a strategy. It is when you are fighting an opponent who thinks they know everything. You guys see humans as weak because we are small and squishy. But that is the point. We evolved being small and squishy on a planet trying to kill us daily. We got good at adapting, at improvising, at surviving. They considered this. It was infuriating how much sense it made. Second question. What is humanity's ultimate goal in this war? Not to have one. Explain. We do not want war. Never did. You showed up in our space, made demands, and started attacking our colonies. We responded, but our goal is not conquest or domination. It is just to get you to leave us alone. Humans are great at fighting, but we are better at other stuff. building things, creating art, exploring, making friends. We would much rather be doing that. Friends, Vec repeated slowly. You want to be friends with an empire that has been trying to kill you. Eventually, yeah. Why not? Holding grudges is exhausting. Once you guys realize you cannot actually beat us because we are too stubborn to lose, maybe we can talk about peace, trade, cultural exchange. You have got some cool tech and interesting biology. We have got music and movies and snack foods. Seems like a basis for cooperation. You are insane. Maybe. But I am also right. You know it too. That is why you are talking to me instead of spacing me. Vekik felt his crest flattening in what might have been respect or possibly resignation. Third question. How do we stop this war? Marcus set down his utensils and looked directly at Vekik with surprising seriousness. You admit you cannot win. Not because you are weak, but because you are fighting a species that has spent its entire existence learning how to survive impossible situations. Every predator on Earth that was bigger and stronger than us, extinct. Every disease that should have killed us, we adapted. Every natural disaster that should have wiped us out, we rebuilt. You cannot kill us by conventional means because nothing about us is conventional. So we just surrender? No. You negotiate. Real negotiations. Not the kind where you make demands and expect compliance. You talk to us like equals, share information, find common ground. Humans are ridiculously easy to get along with if you treat us with basic respect. We will trade with you, share technology, defend mutual interests. But you have to stop trying to conquer us, because I promise you, that will not work. It will just mean more ships destroyed, more lives lost on both sides, and more humans getting really creative about ways to make your military look silly. Silence filled the briefing room. You actually believe this? Vic asked. I do, and more importantly, so does everyone back home. Earth does not want to be your enemy. We have got enough problems. Climate change, social inequality. Someone keeps making bad superhero movies. We do not need a war with aliens on top of everything else, but we will fight if we have to. And we will win because we always do. We are just really, really bad at staying dead. Thrax spoke up quietly. What happens if we release you? I go home, tell my superiors I was captured and treated. Well, the torture was rough, but you did eventually feed me and talk like reasonable beings. That counts for something. Maybe my report influences policy. Maybe it does not. But it is data. Information. A starting point. You would speak favorably of us after we tried to torture you. I would speak honestly. You tried to torture me and failed because human physiology is weird. Then you adjusted your approach and showed you are capable of rational thought. That is more than most enemy combatants manage. Vic looked at his officers. Krennic was taking notes frantically. Thrax seemed thoughtful. Zilly was nodding slowly. This is the most irregular interrogation in military history, Vic stated. Yeah. But did it work? You learned more in this conversation than in 6 hours of torture. We learned that humanity is terrifying and slightly unhinged. Sure, but you also learned we are open to communication. That is something. An alarm sounded. Thrax checked his console. Sir, multiple human ships entering the sector, 6 vessels. Corvette class. They are broadcasting on all frequencies demanding Marcus Vale's return. Marcus grinned. Told you. Earth does not leave people behind. Vec made a decision that would probably end his career but might save his life. Thrax, send a transmission. Tell them we are willing to release the prisoner unharmed in exchange for safe passage out of this sector. Sir? Do it. Also, send a message to High Command. Tell them we are recommending immediate diplomatic negotiations with Earth. Full detang. Cultural exchange programs. Whatever it takes to stop this war before it gets worse. They will never approve that. They will when they read my report about human durability. Trust me. Nobody wants to fight a species that considers military-grade torture a mild inconvenience. Marcus stood and stretched. Good call, Commander. Seriously, this is how peace starts. With reasonable people making reasonable choices. You are still insane. Probably. But I am also going home to see my daughter. That makes me happy. And who knows, maybe in a few years you can visit Earth. Meet Emma. She really does think aliens are cool. I bet she would love to meet you. A human hatchling wants to meet me? Sure. Why not? You are interesting. Not a cool crest. Multiple eyes. Very science fiction. She would draw pictures of you for weeks. Vec felt something strange happening. He was smiling. Actually smiling at the thought of a human offspring drawing pictures of him. This war had gotten very confusing, very quickly. The prisoner exchange happened smoothly. The human ship sent a shuttle. Marcus walked out of the Krellian warship, waved goodbye to Zeleb, who waved back and boarded the shuttle. Within minutes, the human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speeds and disappeared. Vec stood on the bridge, watching them go. "What do you think will happen now, sir?" Thrax asked. "Honestly, I have no idea. But I know one thing. If that was an average human, if that represents the baseline of what we are fighting against, then the Krellian Empire needs to seriously reconsider its approach to galactic relations. Because they are too durable. Because they are too friendly. They should hate us. We tortured Vale for hours, and he told me his offspring thinks aliens are cool. That is not normal. That is strategic-level psychological warfare disguised as optimism." Dr. Krennic pulled up his data pad. "I have been reviewing the historical records. Every species humanity encountered before us. They tried to befriend shared technology with established trade routes. They have only fought defensively, never initiated conflict. It is part of their pattern. So they really do not want to conquer anyone. Apparently not. They just want to exist peacefully and occasionally visit each other. It is almost disturbing how reasonable they are." Vec sat in his command chair and thought about the future. About potential peace with Earth. About a universe where humans and Krellians were not enemies but something else. Something better, his communicator chirped. A message from High Command. He opened it with dread. Then he read it twice to make sure he was understanding correctly. "Sir?" Thrax asked nervously. "What does it say?" "They want my full report immediately, and they are opening diplomatic channels with Earth. Apparently 3 other commanders in different sectors had similar experiences with human prisoners. All 3 recommended negotiations. High Command is declaring a ceasefire pending formal peace talks." The bridge erupted in surprised chatter. "Did we just accidentally end a war by failing to torture someone?" Thrax asked. "I think we did. That is the most human thing I have ever heard." Vec laughed, a sound that surprised him with its genuineness. "You know what? You are right. It is exactly the kind of backwards, illogical, weirdly effective outcome that could only happen with humans involved." 6 months later, Commander Vec stood in an Earth spaceport, wearing a diplomatic sash and feeling extremely out of place. The Krellian diplomatic mission had been welcomed with surprising warmth. Humans, it turned out, were very good at forgiveness when genuine effort was made. "Commander Vec," a familiar voice called. He turned to see Marcus Vale approaching with a small human in tow. Emma, presumably. She was staring at him with enormous eyes full of wonder. "Marcus, good to see you recovered from your ordeal. Please." "That was barely an ordeal. I have had worse hangovers." Marcus gestured to his daughter. "Emma, this is Commander Vec. Commander, this is the world's biggest alien enthusiast." Emma stepped forward solemnly. "You have 4 eyes. That is so cool. Can you see in 4 directions at once? You have 4 brains? How does blinking work?" Vec found himself genuinely charmed. "I can see in nearly all directions simultaneously. I have 1 brain with 4 visual cortices, and blinking happens independently in each eye. Would you like to know more?" "Yes." Emma bounced excitedly. "I have so many questions." As the young human peppered him with increasingly complex questions about Krellian biology, Vec realized something profound. This was the real power of humanity. Not their durability or stubbornness or strange ability to survive torture. It was their capacity for curiosity, for connection, for choosing friendship over fear. They had tried to torture Marcus Vale. He had asked for seconds, made a friend, and somehow negotiated peace. That was humanity. Utterly impossible. Completely illogical. And somehow exactly what the galaxy needed. Vec smiled with all 4 eyes and answered Emma's questions, thinking that maybe, just maybe, the universe had gotten a lot more interesting. And perhaps that was not such a bad thing after all.